So Stranger Things Season 4 has finally come to an end, and I have to be honest, I have mixed feelings about it. Before I get started, I'd like to kindly ask that you hit the like button, and please subscribe to the channel for more content just like this.
Come on, do it! Do it!
Before I say anything else about this season, can I just say I'm not really a fan of how the episodes were released this time out. The whole split season release format just kind of drug things out a bit too much for me. To me, you have two options. You either release all the episodes at once or release them one at a time, and there should be no in between. That being said, my overall feelings about this season have fluctuated greatly over the course of me watching these episodes. And I think a big reason for that is that the structure of the season just came off a bit uneven to me. There were parts that I was very interested in, and there were parts that I could care less about.
I don't care!
The same thing happened for me in Season 3, and I think a big reason for that is that the creators are just trying to do too much. They're trying to tell this big sprawling story that spans the globe, but by doing that, it's taking away from the small town vibe that made the original season so good. Plus, yes, I still believe that there was just too many characters to follow this season. So much so that, again, classic characters like Mike and Will just feel like an afterthought at this point. Will and Mike finally do get a somewhat heartfelt moment early in this 8th episode.
Why do you cry?
This is where Will basically tells Mike that he is the heart of the group. But even that long overdue emotional moment felt a bit off and awkward to me. Perhaps because it came after both of them doing nothing for 7 episodes straight. The focus for these final 2 episodes is mostly placed on Eleven and Max. Eleven because of her history with Vecna, and Max because she is now the one that got away from him. Yes, Queen! There is a lot of Eleven regaining her powers, and even gaining some new powers that we didn't know she had. She does get a decent moment where she brings down a helicopter that is trying to kill her. Also, I have to point this out because I think that Millie Bobby Brown did an excellent job acting-wise this season, so I don't really know why people seem to be so against her. I actually think she's one of the stronger performers on the show up until this point, and she really gets to show that off this season with a wide range of emotions.
But you one crazy ass bitch!
The rest of these 2 episodes pretty much involves all parties kind of working together from different locations to try to bring down Vecna, of course. So Dustin, who is basically the plan guy at this point, comes up with a plot that they're going to try to execute to bring down Vecna. It involves distracting him long enough so they can attack his physical body in the Upside Down when it's unprotected. Which results in more splitting up, of course, unfortunately.
Why do these things always happen to me?
Max really gets the shit end of the stick here as she basically volunteers to be the bait, since Vecna clearly wanted her to be his 4th victim to begin with. The 4th victim that, by the way, after he kills, would cause a rip between the Upside Down and our world. And this would allow Vecna to fully invade this reality. It's also revealed that Vecna was basically behind everything that we've seen up until this point from all 4 seasons. And I'm not sure how I feel about that. It kind of devalues the Mind Flayer a little bit for me. There's something terrifying about this interdimensional being that just wants to hurt people for reasons unknown.
There's something out there waiting for us, and it ain't no man.
But that's kind of undone when it's revealed that Vecna is behind it and he has all these extra motivations. I don't know, like I said, just for me personally, the unknown is always more interesting. And it just feels like a lot during this season that they're revealing a bit too much. I made a prior video for Stranger Things that asked the question, is this Max's show now? And I kind of said that I don't think that it is, and I'm willing to give it a chance and maybe give them time to give the other characters a bit more screen time.
That makes sense.
But Max is very much still a huge part of these episodes as well. In fact, it feels like she is pretty much the whole emotional core of the season. Now don't get me wrong, I think Max's story was very well done this season. Again, it just comes down to the Duffer Brothers not distributing time amongst the characters evenly. So when the plan is finally put into motion, things go south quickly.
You didn't see that coming.
Max isn't able to hold off Vecna like she thought she would be able to, because he pretty much anticipated everything that was coming. Eddie and Dustin's plan to distract the demon bats pretty much goes sideways as well. At least we got to hear Master of Puppets. If there's one thing that Stranger Things has always been consistent on, it's the music that they use. This whole thing leads to Eddie eventually dying, and I gotta be honest with you, this moment didn't really hit for me emotionally like it should have.
Fuck me, right?
I mean, on top of the fact that we've seen this before, the new guy in Stranger Things being brutally murdered, R.I.P. Bob, on top of that, I just don't think enough time was spent on Dustin and Eddie's relationship to inspire this type of emotional reaction. Sure, they were friends or friendly, but they never really struck me as best friends, at least not until the plot deemed it necessary. I just felt nothing for the Eddie character, and that might be somewhat of a real take. To me, he basically just took time away from characters I would have much rather seen, like Steve.
Why?
Steve, Nancy, and Robin's plan to attack Vecna's physical body in the Upside Down doesn't go as planned either. This would be a great time to point out that Nancy's character is much more likable this season than she has been in previous seasons. So basically it comes down to everyone being in trouble, and this is when Eleven enters Max's mind to duel with Vecna. They do go back and forth quite a bit, but I have to be honest, their confrontation felt a bit underwhelming to me. Vecna does eventually get the upper hand on her, and it pretty much takes Mike finally saying "I love you" to her to make her want to fight back.
You love me! You really love me!
Mike equating himself to being the Lois Lane to Eleven's Superman is simultaneously spot on, but also somewhat unfortunate, because again, it just kind of reinforces Mike's more secondary role now. If you're wondering why I haven't mentioned the Russia stuff very much, it's because I still don't care. Again, I just feel like it's the most unnecessarily prolonged portion of the show.
That's right, it stinks!
And then we come to the finale, which sees them defeating Vecna but not killing him. But before doing that, he does hurt Max enough to actually end up killing her. And then we enter this gray area where it's insinuated that Eleven possibly brought Max back to life and now she's just in a coma? I don't know where Eleven discovered that she had these powers or that she was capable of doing such things, but I do feel like Max's death being undone kind of cheapens her story a little bit. It at least cheapens the impact of everything that she went through.
No shit.
And then we come to the finale that never ends. And it's no surprise that this episode was over 2 hours long, especially when you have 30 minutes of it dedicated to reuniting all the characters. And again, you wouldn't have to do that every single season if you stopped splitting them up so much. But I can't lie, all of this did seem to go on for too long. It just felt like a series of false finishes that never seemed to conclude. Don't get me wrong, there were some cool Stranger Things moments contained within this finale. Most notably, Hopper and Eleven being reunited. I think everything about their relationship has been spot on over their time together.
I like it a lot.
The season concludes with a cliffhanger and Will's spidey senses once again tingling. And we get to see the whole crew looking over Hawkins as it appears that the Upside Down is starting to bleed over into their world. So I guess Max was dead long enough for this to still count. It's been revealed that next season will involve a time jump, which now seems extra weird because how this season ended, but I guess they're going to have to find a way to work around it because the kids are aging faster than Benjamin Button at this point.
I'm too old for this shit.
Overall, I know it sounds like I'm mostly down on this show. I'm not, I just have very high standards for Stranger Things because of the precedents they set. And there was a lot to like this season, but there was also a lot more than I would care to have that I disliked. I still think it's miles and away better than most of the shit that I watch on streaming. I just wish they were a bit more consistent with their storytelling like they were in seasons 1 and 2. And too much explanation and too many characters is a big reason for that. Hopefully in season 5, a greater emphasis will be placed back on the core group of kids, because that group and their interactions is what made this show great. I still enjoyed myself at times, but this was a very flawed experience for me. So that's why I'm going to give Stranger Things season 4 the Cathouse.
Saved by kitty litter.
Y'all be cool. Shut up.